This is how I feel. I'm cold and I am shamed, lying naked on the floor. Illusion never changed. I'm wide awake and I can see the perfect sky is torn.
You gotta start reevaluating these coaches the same way they do with these players. When a player can't get it done, you know what they do? They trade him or they get rid of him. Why not do the same thing with these coaches, though?
Figure out who we are this next week and then into the bye and after the bye. So we're going to have to find ourselves. So I think it starts with us as coaches. We've got to figure out how to put the guys in best positions. There was a lot of things out there that weren't done correctly. I think the effort was there. I just didn't think the execution was there. You know, we didn't do what we needed to do, and it's going to have to start with us as coaches and figure it out. I mean, this run defense is just, it's not okay, you know, and that's not something that should happen. So we haven't fixed that really all year yet. That's the number one thing that's got to start. You can't play behind the sticks the whole game on both sides of the ball. And that's been pretty much a theme throughout the course of the whole season so far.
John, do you have to consider changes on the with Zach or the defensive staff?
Yeah, you try to do the most productive things, and I do not think that that's the answer. We need to stick together is what we need to do.
Who's the dummy now?
So here we are, Ravens fans. Yet again, another week, another defeat. We are only 5 weeks into the season, and the Baltimore Ravens suffer another embarrassing loss. And to me, this was the worst one of all. Now, through weeks 1 through 4, everyone said the Ravens have played some of the best teams in the NFL. 3 out of the 4 games, those teams could represent their conference in the Super Bowl. So I can get how people can have some optimism saying, you got the best teams in the NFL. Baltimore has injury concerns, so of course they are going to struggle. But what is the excuse for this game? What narratives are going to be spun for the reasons the Ravens lost this badly today? Now, for me, I did not expect the Ravens to win this game. They just had too many injuries and not enough coaching. And of course, through 5 weeks, people are still giving John Harbaugh a pass because of the injury-riddled Ravens. But that excuse for me is just not going to fly. If you watch Thursday Night Football with the San Francisco 49ers, when they played the Los Angeles Rams, they had a myriad of injuries themselves. They were without their starting quarterback, 3 of their wide receivers, a bunch of their defensive players, including former Defensive Player of the Year, Nick Bosa, was out. But they still managed to be competitive. And not only was that team competitive, they won the game. So this is where we tell you that coaching matters. Yes, you need your stars to be on the field. And sometimes you just need your stars to be stars. But when you are a well-defined, well-coached team, you put up at least a competitive effort. There is a fight and a spirit inside of you that says, I'm not giving up. I may get beat today, but I'm not going to get embarrassed. And that's what the Ravens did in their 44-10 loss to the Houston Texans. They got thoroughly embarrassed. People tried to say that Lamar Jackson quit on this team a week ago, but he was injured. Today was all out absurdity. This was the look of a team that does not believe in the message, the words, or the rumblings of their head coach.
Do you feel like the messages that are coming from John or Zach or whomever aren't getting through in some way?
That's probably a question that's above my pay grade, probably. I think that's a Harbaugh and CEO question, to be honest. Like, I think their messaging is fine.
The effort was lackadaisical. The tackling was horrific. And you could tell that the message from John Harbaugh is falling upon deaf ears. Never in my life would I have thought that a Baltimore Ravens-led team was the end-all, cure-all for a team having offensive dysfunction. If your team is suffering from a scoring sickness, just call up Baltimore, and we have the cure. I knew in my heart of hearts that we were not going to win this game, but never in my wildest dreams did I think that the Houston Texans were going to put up 44 points. They have struggled all season long to score. Through the first 4 games, the Texans have averaged 16 points per game. 16. And they came in here and scored on 8 straight possessions. The only thing that stopped them from scoring more was the fact that they put in their backups. 8 straight possessions, 8 straight scores. But John Harbaugh tends to think that this defense is fine. Zach Orr doesn't have to go anywhere, and everything defensively is all sunshine and rainbows. But if we just look over the last 2 games, the Baltimore Ravens defense has given up 9 touchdowns, collected 0 turnovers, and only forced teams to punt 2 times. So over 120 minutes of football, teams have punted twice. That means the defense is not getting off the field. And no matter what team, what quarterback is in the game, the defense is struggling. Coming into the season, we thought that with all of these first-round picks, everything was going to be shut down through the air. We figured that the Ravens were going to have their normally stout run defense, but
Wrong.
Surprise, surprise. Surprise, surprise.
they can't stop the pass. They can't stop the run. They can't stop a nosebleed. Teams are coming in here doing anything that they want against this Ravens front. In this game alone, CJ Stroud passed 27 times and completed 23 passes. There were only 4 incompletions, and I think he had 3 of those in the first half. Nick Chubb looked like the Nick Chubb of old, outrunning our defense for a touchdown. I love me some Nick Chubb, but I did not expect him to do what he did today. The effort from this team is just mind-blowing to me. Like, what are we doing? We allow Nick Chubb to look like prime Nick Chubb. Then you got CJ Stroud running for 30 yards. He's not a scrambler. In one play, he darn near outrushed the whole team. Stroud also threw for 4 touchdowns, and in his previous 3 games versus the Ravens, offensively, they had never scored a touchdown. So 3 games, 0 touchdowns at all. They just couldn't get in the end zone. But in this one game alone, in the first quarter, they scored 3 touchdowns. But John Harbaugh thinks that this defense is fine. There's no need to move on from Zach Orr. This team is giving up 35.4 points a game. They can't stop the run. They can't stop the pass. They can't get off the field. But yet and still, we're going to run with the same thing we've been doing all season long. And once again, playoff contention teams, yes. Houston Texans, I can't explain it. The Ravens haven't had a loss this bad since possibly the London game with Joe Flacco. But I have never in my life seen a Ravens team just throw their hands up and say, you know what, this is it. I'm not going to do my best. I'm going to go out here, collect my paycheck, and I'm going to go home. I have never seen that, and this is a direct reflection of its head coach, who refuses to make any changes. You see Zach Orr over there struggling. You're not offering him any help. You're letting him do what he's been doing, and we're getting out-coached. Now, to get out-coached by Super Bowl winning head coaches, well-tenured head coaches, one thing. But when you start getting these second and third year head coaches and they're out-coaching you, it becomes a problem. You are in your 18th season, and we're still seeing the same issues. We're still seeing the lack of discipline, penalties at the wrong times, the team just having no identity or direction. And then last week, John Harbaugh decided that he was going to put most of the blame on Todd Monken and his play calling. And at first, I'm like, it's kind of cowardly of you. You want to absolve yourself of any wrongdoing, especially for a team that's putting up 30-something points per game. The offense isn't perfect, but they're scoring. And you're putting blame on Todd Monken. Well, on Sunday, and in this game, Todd Monken deserves whatever criticism that comes his way. I was never a fan of this hire. There are a lot of things that I've said years ago that now are starting to come back and bite us in the butt. I thought that he was a decent coordinator. He's done some things with this passing game that we have not seen before in Baltimore. So I give him credit for that. But as far as an offensive coordinator goes, as far as a championship level offensive coordinator goes, he is not that. He's not on that time. Yesterday's game, for me, was the perfect example of how he has failed this team, and the things that have haunted us in the playoffs with him as the offensive coordinator have come to light. Coming into this game, 6 inactive Pro Bowlers. Now, only 2 of them were on offense, and of course, the most important one being Lamar Jackson, but we were also missing Ronnie Stanley. You know that your defense is riddled. They weren't doing well when fully healthy. So when everybody was playing, this defense struggled. Now we have a bunch of injuries all across the board on every level of our defense. So of course, they're not going to perform well, even against a team that fails to score 20 points. So for me and most people, we thought the game plan was run, and run again, especially with Cooper Rush making his first start in Baltimore. You run the ball, you run out the clock, you keep the defense off the field. But as in Todd Monken fashion, what happens? We fall behind by 10 or more points, and he gets pass happy. You know that your offensive line, before coming into this game, was limited. They get no push in the run game. Their pass blocking is a little bit better, but it is not up to NFL standards. And yet and still, instead of running the ball, you decide you want to pass, which was a mistake. Derrick Henry, over the last 4 games, has failed to reach 50 yards. I don't care what defense you're playing. 4 straight games, sub 50 yards. And people are going to ask, has Derrick Henry lost it? Yes, he's lost the confidence in his offensive coordinator. That's what he's lost. They ran this man 15 times for 32 yards. Then you have these long developing routes. He started off a lot better on that first drive, mixing up the play calling. But after we went down, he started to show his true colors. But then again, we once again have a head coach that can't give any input to that side of the ball. We don't have a head coach that can step in and say, listen, we need to start running these plays. We need to start doing this. But the one thing that he can say is run the ball. We're supposed to be a run dominant team. That's supposed to be our identity. Smash mouth, hard nosed, tough running team. Especially when you know the Houston Texans, coached by former defensive coordinator of the year, D'Amico Ryans, having Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter just back there ready to knock a quarterback's head off. They are racing to meet at the quarterback, and we struggle at the guard position. Now we have no boom at left tackle, and Rosengarten hasn't been having his best season. So instead, you give them free reign, free opportunity to come get our quarterback. Now, things could have gone a lot worse than they did. But you as an offensive coordinator are a reflection of your head coach. You get in over your head. You get out-coached by the defensive coach on the other side of the ball. This Baltimore Ravens offense put up 207 yards of offense total. Cooper Rush had 3 interceptions. One of those was a lack of effort play by Rashad Bateman. He just gave up on a play. Another hit Mark Andrews in his hands. And of course, he did Mark Andrews postseason things in the regular season. But still, the Ravens turned the ball over 3 times. They got no push in the run game. Wide receivers did absolutely nothing. The only one that showed up during this game to me was Zay Flowers. So you can't have a lack of talent on your team and have the coaches not do their job. This was an opportunity for John Harbaugh to show I am that head coach that a lot of you Ravens fans said that he was. This was an opportunity to prove himself without a star player that he could at least be competitive. I wasn't expecting him to win the game, but I was expecting this team to at least be somewhat competitive, somewhat viable in the fact that we are a professional franchise. We don't have everybody on our team, but we have guys that get paid. And Jonathan Harbaugh has been unable to do these things. That's why I've said for years, he is not the great head coach that you think that he is. Since 2018, without Lamar Jackson, the Ravens have gone 4-11. So if he's such a great head coach, if he's so good, he can win without his star quarterback. We've watched other teams do it. I mean, look at Cooper Rush as an example. With the Dallas Cowboys, he's gone 9-5 by himself. But we continue to struggle because we have a head man that cannot contribute offensively. He can't contribute his thoughts defensively. And he stands there looking dazed and confused when things aren't going our way instead of manning up and taking control of this team.
I can't believe it myself. I know. I'm so numb. I just hate him. I hate him. I hate him.
So now we take the next 24 hours to get over this loss, and then we move on to the next team. And that next team is the Los Angeles Rams. Out of the frying pan into the fire. We take an offensively challenged Houston Texans team, and now we go to a Sean McVay coach team with a future Hall of Famer Matt Stafford. You got Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Kyron Williams. Like, we have so many things that we have to deal with and defend on defense. We're not going to be able to do it. If we let Xavier Hutchinson go off on us, what do you think these guys are going to do? And defensively, the Rams are going to show up. I just hope that they do not put 50 points on us. We've been embarrassed enough as a team, as a franchise, enough for one season, and we don't need it to get any worse. But I'm afraid this is not rock bottom for us. We have a head coach that can't coach. We have a GM that y'all gave so much praise for his draft picks, and they have not been panning out. I was so hyped about Mike Green, but he needs a year's seasoning. He needs an extra year to get acclimated to the NFL, coming from a lower division in college. But the same cannot be said against Malachi Starks. He was supposed to come in here, get this team turnovers, do some amazing things. Yesterday was his opportunity to shine, and he's done nothing this whole season. And I don't think he's a bust. I think he's going to be a great player, but he's not the generational player that everybody seemed to just think that he was going to be because we made him a first-round pick. We made a lot of guys first and second-round picks that have done nothing for this team. This team is poorly constructed. As much as I would like to blame John Harbaugh for these failings, Eric DeCosta has failed us as well. You come out in a press conference and say, you got to build in the trenches. The trenches are extremely important, but you ignored them. You said what the problem was. You know what the solution is, but yet and still you go into a draft and you take a safety first round, knowing that your offensive line is poor. You told us that this offensive line was going to be good this year. Where's it at? I ain't seen it. You ignored the defensive line. And yes, Nnamdi Madubuike's out, but what about the rest of the guys? We knew that we didn't have depth coming into the season, and yet and still you decided, I'm going to take this 6th round rookie and I'm going to call it quits. Now I'm going to sign a bunch of free agents, and it doesn't amount to a hill of beans. I've told y'all for years. LBHT has told y'all for years. This team is not constructed the way that you think that it is. We don't have the stars that you think that we have. We don't have players that other teams are coveting like you think that we do. And if you just take a look at next week's opponent in the Los Angeles Rams, you can see how they constructed their team. For 8 seasons, they did not have a first-round pick. They were in that F them picks era. 8 straight years, no first-round picks. Went to 2 Super Bowls and won 1, and are competitive once again. Came really close to beating the Eagles last year in the playoffs. But yet and still, with our 21 draft picks each and every season, where have we gone? When have we been to a Super Bowl? An Eric DeCosta drafted team has gotten to the AFC title game once. But everybody and their mama said how stupid the Rams were when they made their moves. But look at what they've accomplished. And if we're looking at things right now, they are better than we are. So they forfeited draft picks for players. Went through a short rebuilding stage, which was probably like a season and a half. And one of those was due to injuries. And they're back on top again, competitive. They have an opportunity for a Super Bowl. Whereas we, with all of these first, second, and third round picks littered across our defense, are struggling to win our second game. So for all of those years, and all of you guys that laughed at the Rams, that laughed at the Bengals for not having a defense, where are you at now? Because at least in the Bengals defense, they didn't put any money into it. They got a free agent here, a couple years later, decent first round pick there. But if you're looking at the 2 teams, we are exactly the same. And we've put much more draft capital and free agents into our defense than anybody. And yet and still, we're the last ranked defense in the league. So if you don't have the talent, if you don't have the head coach, if you don't have the defensive or offensive coordinators that can get the job done, what do? I'm tired of saying fire this person, blow it up, let's start over. Even though that is the obvious answer, because John Harbaugh has taken us as far as he can go. It's just a sad state of affairs that it took people years, too many years, to catch up to what was going on. And now we're stuck in a conundrum where, what do? Get rid of the coach mid-season and move on to somebody else and try to rebuild from there? Or do we wait till the offseason? But no matter what move that you make, it's another season that we wasted in the Lamar Jackson tenure. Just hopefully, whatever, we don't waste another. Year 9 has to be the season of change. Year 9 has to be the year that we do something totally different, because what we're doing is not working out. But I can guarantee you one thing, because of this abysmal defensive display, the Ravens are going to justify drafting another defensive player, possibly a cornerback, in the first round of the 2026 draft. And if you know the definition of insanity, it is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And if you don't think that the Ravens are insane, especially when it comes to the coaching in the front office, you are sadly mistaken, my friend.